With the brand new expansion, Treacherous Tides, hitting stores, and hitting shores, I've had to think of what villains I would like to see join the dastardly ensemble of no-good doers, and decided to draft two brand new expansions. Now keep in mind, these are nowhere near even print and play stage, and are very much just ideas thrown onto paper. But I wanted to share them with you all, and open up some discussion, so do be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Our first expansion is called Out of Sight, Out of Mind, and will feature Randall from Monsters Inc. and Anxiety from Inside Out 2. In order for Randall to win, he must banish Mike and Sully and capture Boo. Randall's unique mechanic will be location cards, which are represented over the doors from Monsters Inc. Now these cards don't attach to any locations and instead will just be separate to the board. Allies, heroes, and even Randall himself can be banished to these locations. Now these location cards still offer 4 actions, but whilst banished, Randall can only perform 2 actions on his turn. There will be 3 location cards, the Himalayas, Trailer Park, and Boo's Room, each with their own unique restrictions. The Himalayas will have Randall only be able to hold a maximum of 3 cards, while the Trailer Park will actually put a time limit on Randall's turn. Boo's Room is a little different, and depends on the current state that Boo is in. If Boo is afraid, Randall will gain 2 power. If Boo is fearless, he will lose 2 power. When Boo's Room is put into play, Boo will be summoned, who then cannot be removed from Randall's realm. And she is like Buzz, double-sided, with the aforementioned states of afraid and fearless. Randall requires her to be afraid to win, but she does begin as afraid. However, she acts like an item and can be attached to heroes, specifically Mike and Sully. Whilst it's currently very underdeveloped, I really like this idea of heroes and even the villain themselves being able to be banished, and I think it really works with Monsters Inc. and the door mechanic that we see in that film. Again, this one's very undercooked, but I think there's a lot of potential to explore here. Moving on to Anxiety, her goal is to create the perfect Riley. Her unique mechanic is flippable locations. Anxiety must change every location in her realm to reshape Riley to her vision. Each location card is a thick card. It's very similar to Radigan's objective card, and these can be flipped to show an alternative location. Anxiety's default locations only offer her 3 actions, except for Headquarters, which will offer the normal 4. Flipped locations, however, offer 5 actions, making Anxiety a scaling villain that can very easily get out of control. One of my biggest goals for Anxiety was making sure that her allies and heroes have a big impact on the game, so I'd like to go through some of the characters and the ideas I had for them. For Joy, it was whenever she moves to a new location, she'll unflip it. For Sadness, its locations cannot be flipped while she's in your realm. For Anger, it's that Anxiety actually can't be in the same location as him unless she has an ally there with her. For Disgust, it's simply that Disgust's location cannot be flipped. And for Fear, if it's possible, Fear will move other heroes to his location if an ally is at their location. For her allies, Envy will actually copy the strength of the hero at the location she is placed. For Embarrassment, he actually prevents actions from being covered at his location, but the caveat is that he has no strength. And Anu's location cannot be unflipped. Again, I really like this idea of locations that can actually flip and become something new, and I think it really works for Inside Out 2 as being representative of how she's slowly taking control of Riley and changing her to her own vision. And I think being able to visually see that on the board as you flip more and more locations is just a really interesting and visual way of demonstrating the villain's goal. So I really like this idea, and I do think it can be developed into something legitimate. The second expansion is called Eye for an Eye and will feature 2 Disney Channel villains, Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls and Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. Bill Cipher's objective is to simply conquer Gravity Falls. His unique mechanic is realm hopping, very similar to the sort of stuff you see in Marvel Villainous. Once per turn, Bill Cipher can actually attempt to make a deal with other players in order to gain access to one of their locations. He's able to offer them some of his own power, the Fate token to prevent them from being faded this turn, strength multipliers from the supply, or sacrifice his own actions to allow his opponent to have more actions on a turn. For example, he would only have 3 actions this turn, whereas his opponent would be able to do 5 different things. If the deal is refused, in order to keep the game flowing, Bill must just continue his turn. He can't make a new deal until the start of his next turn. But if the deal is accepted, Bill can then travel to the accepted upon location during any turn, assuming the opponent is not there. The opponent cannot travel to this location if Bill's mover occupies it, but they can still play cards there. When it comes to Bill's actual goal, he must find and activate the interdimensional rift and then force Ford to make a deal with him. This happens if Dipper, Maple, and Stan are all possessed, and one of them are used to vanquish Ford. Bill possesses heroes by lowering their strength to 0, either through strength tokens or by vanquishing them, and then he must play a possession card. Most heroes are not discarded, hence Bill's desire for other locations, but by possessing them, they will become his allies and drop to the bottom of his board. Out of the 4, I found Bill the hardest to develop, and I do think there's a lot that could be done with Bill. It's sort of there's so much potential that it's almost overwhelming and difficult to know what direction this character should actually be taken in, because it's such a treasured character that I think it just needs to be done justice. So this is definitely the one I'd like to develop more. And finally, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's objective is to take over the entire tri-state area. He has several unique mechanics, Nemesis and Trap cards. Dr. Doofenshmirtz must deploy and successfully activate an Inator at all 4 of his locations to win. Doofenshmirtz does not have any allies. Instead, he has Inator cards. Inator cards have no strength. Instead, they grant him powerful abilities if the criteria for activation is met. And Inators make up their own deck. In order to draw from this, he must discard his entire hand, sort of like using what he's got to build something. Agent P is not a hero. Instead, he is a nemesis that can never be removed from the realm. He can take 3 different forms: Agent P Trapped, and Perry the Platypus. At the end of Doofenshmirtz's turn, Agent P will either destroy an Inator if there is one at his location, or he will move towards a location with an Inator. As a result, it is crucial that Agent P is kept under control. However, there are 2 ways of dealing with him. He can be trapped via trap cards, which are placed like items. If Agent P moves to this location, he becomes trapped. This is indicated by rotating his card 90 degrees, identical to how it works for Hades. When he's trapped, Agent P will require the corresponding gadget to escape. He obtains this from his own gadget deck. It's sort of similar to the dynamic between Merlin and Madame Mim. Agent P will have a public hand of 4 gadgets. Each turn he will discard and replace one gadget not matching any in-play traps. If Agent P has the right gadget, he will use it to permanently remove the trap and the gadget from the game. The second way of dealing with Agent P comes in the form of heroes. If there are certain heroes at Agent P's location, for example Phineas or Ferb, Agent P must switch to his Perry the Platypus form. When he is in this form, Perry does not cover up actions, he cannot be trapped, will instantly become untrapped, and will discard the trap instead of destroying it, and cannot destroy Inators. Perry will still move towards Inators with the intent of getting the jump on Doof. If he is at a location without these heroes, he will instantly switch back to Agent P. While heroes make it a lot easier to deal with Agent P, they obviously still present their own challenges like they do for any other villain, and Doofenshmirtz must deal with this. Heroes are vanquished via the abilities of Doof's Inators, and with even just 2 Inators, Doof can very easily get rid of heroes, but this is at the cost of allowing Agent P to now roam without restriction. forcing Doof to rely on a limited supply of traps. Now, there is a lot of moving parts here, and I completely understand if someone thinks this is far too complicated for Disney Villainous. However, I simply just really like some of the dynamics that are created here, and I like this personal element of having to choose what to prioritize. Do you rely on your traps, hoping that you don't run out and can get enough Inators down? Or do you sacrifice your actions by allowing a few heroes onto the board, hoping that you're able to deal with their abilities? I don't have all the cards laid out or know what all these abilities would be. I just think this dynamic of Agent P also having to make these choices, it just really feels like you're actually versing someone else in this personal battle. It really does feel like you're fighting your nemesis, and I really like all these dynamics and moving parts. But again, perhaps this is far too complicated, perhaps I'm a bit in over my head, but I really, really like this one. This one's probably my favorite idea of the four, but there's probably a bias there because Phineas and Ferb is one of my favorite shows of all time. And that's what I've got for you today. These are the 4 villains that I would love to see in Disney Villainous, and this is sort of some ideas on how I'd like to see them represented. I've got 2 more expansions that I'm currently drafting, and I can't wait to share them with you. I'll give you some hints on what they are, and I'll let you try and guess what the villains are going to be. But what villains would you like to see? What do you think of these ideas for these 4 villains? Would you represent them differently? Do you think these are stupid ideas? Do you actually think there's some potential here? Let me know in the comments below. Share your ideas, share your thoughts. And until next time, have a bloody good one. Take care, guys.